Hello, all you Knutsen bastards. How are you doing? Great to be back in Sydney. And I'm here today to talk to you about monetary maximalism, which is a term that maybe not everyone is familiar with. So this talk has another name here on the screen. There is no second use case. Why monetary maximalism is the only position that makes sense. And just a disclaimer here, I'm not here to change Bitcoin, but maybe I'm trying to give you another way of looking at Bitcoin, and which is, I think, is important because at the end of the day, we are Bitcoin, we are the network, we run nodes to verify what's going on, and this is just to remind everyone why we're here and what this is all about. So let's begin, shall we? Do you know who this guy is? Who is it? It's Ludwig von Mises, the father of Austrian economics. And he argued that the sole function of money was being a medium of exchange. And I'll get back to that point later because I think I have a slightly different definition of medium of exchange than many other Bitcoiners. Mises subscribed to the idea that money is neither a consumption good or a production good, which are terms that you should be familiar with if you know anything about economics, but a good sui generis of its own kind, although he never used that word himself, because money is neither a production good nor a consumption good. It's just a medium of exchange, something we use to facilitate trade with one another. And this is another guy that I really, really like called Murray Rothbard. Another Austrian economist, the successor to Mises, if you will, who said money per se cannot be consumed and cannot be used directly as a producer's good in productive processes. And here, it might be good to make a distinction here. So, goods can either be consumer goods or production, or used as units of production or production goods, or factors of production. So, for instance, a piece of cheese and a piece of bread and a toaster, two of those three are consumption goods because you can eat the cheese, you can eat the bread, and it's hard to eat the toaster. I think you can if you try, but you'll have to have very sharp teeth or a good grinder. However, those three can also be used as factors of production in producing a cheese toast. So the cheese can be a production good if your goal is to produce a cheese toast, which you then eat as a consumption good. Money is neither of those things. It's another thing. So money per se is therefore unproductive. It's dead stock and produces nothing. Land or capital is another word for time, really, stored up time, is always in the form of some specific good, some specific productive instrument. Money always remains in someone's cash balance. And this is another crucial thing here to understand proper economics. And that is that money is never in circulation. It always belongs to some person. So circulating money is a very Keynesian concept. Here's another one of my favorite economists. This is Hans Hermann Hoppe. And I think he has the best definition of money that I can agree with. Because money can be employed for the instant satisfaction of the widest range of possible needs. Kind of hard to understand, but it's pretty simple. You can exchange it for almost anything else. It provides its owner with the best humanly possible protection against uncertainty. So this is what money is and is supposed to be, like a protection against the future, against another situation that might pose a problem for you in the future. The more money you have, the more solutions you have to any particular problem, because money solves a lot of problems. Yeah, medium of exchange, now in 4D. I think you often hear in Bitcoin this debate about whether Bitcoin is a store of value primarily or a medium of exchange primarily. And I think the whole dichotomy is actually false. Because what it should be is like you cannot have medium of exchange over space if you don't have it over time. Because if money loses its value over time, it doesn't really function as a medium of exchange over space. I mean, you always need to hold it for some time in order to exchange it later. It's very seldom that you just receive the money and immediately move it to someone else. So I think a better way to look at it is that money is only a medium of exchange, but it is a medium of exchange over time and space. And you might have seen on earlier slides today that gold used to be a very good temporal medium of exchange or store of value, and that fiat money is a good medium of exchange over space. It's easy to make transactions swiping your card or using cash, but it's hard to do. That's what gold cannot do. It's a very bad medium of exchange over space because you cannot divide it very easily. You cannot. Gold is clunky and not easy to use. Bitcoin fulfills both functions. Yeah, so when you have a medium of exchange over time and space, you have damn near perfect money. And that's what Bitcoin is. It was never perfect. It can never be perfect, but it can be good enough to last forever if we stay vigilant and we protect the network as we should. So here are the 6 properties of money as defined by most economists. Money needs to be durable, portable, divisible, uniform, have a scarce supply, and be accepted. Have you seen this before? I think most of you are familiar with these terms, right? So, and if you compare cash and gold and Bitcoin, cash here being fiat money, cash isn't very durable, as we know, since prices are going up over time. Gold is more durable. It's just a stupid rock that remains the same for a long time. It's a mononucleotic metal, and it doesn't erode very easily. Bitcoin is super durable because of things that I will discuss later in this talk. Portability, I mean, cash is portable, gold is not very portable, Bitcoin is both. Divisibility, cash is very, very divisible, especially with credit cards and other stupid shit like that. Gold is not very divisible, Bitcoin is very divisible. Down to the smallest unit, which is the Satoshi, and even smaller than that if you count the Lightning Network and other layer 2 solutions. Uniformity, cash is uniform. This can be debated. Gold is very uniform. It's an element on the periodic table. So is Bitcoin, by the way I look at it, because I view Bitcoin as a informational element, which means an element without protons or neutrons. It's only electrons, but it is as if we've found an informational element where the information about the element is the actual element. That is a rabbit hole in itself. Scarce supply. Cash has very shitty scarce supply. It's very easy to see that cash has a very shitty scarce supply by just observing prices and that they don't go down over time but up. So the way and it still baffles me to this day that people aren't aware of this, because if you really think about it, if you practice doing something over and over again, do you usually get better or worse at doing that thing? And the answer is you usually get better at doing that thing. If you play the piano, you get better at playing the piano. If you build cars, you get better at building cars over time. So the follow-up question to that would be, so why aren't all prices dropping forever? And if you denominate in Bitcoin, you see that they actually do. So everything about prices going up is actually fake and someone lying to you. More on that later. Gold also has a scarce supply, but not a finite supply. Bitcoin is not digital gold. It's way better than that. We'll come to that later. Acceptability, yeah. Cash is more widely accepted than gold and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on its way, though. It's on an upwards trajectory. And most fiat currencies, except the US dollar, are on a downward trajectory and are accepted less and less all over the world. So what happens when money lacks one of these 6 properties? Let's explore that for a while. Durability. If money is not durable, what happens then? If you see the picture in the upper right corner there, that's one of the barrels in which Pablo Escobar stored his cash. Have you seen the Narcos television series? Escobar, he made so much money he had to hide it all under his mattress because he didn't want to, he didn't want other people to know where his money was, so he dug it down in the ground and it started to rot and became useless over time. So if it's not durable, it's not a very good form of money. Portability. Even cash is kind of hard to transport. This is one of the, I think we have these in Spain. It's one of those armored trucks to refill the ATMs with cash. It costs a lot of money to transport money that way. Divisibility, every Bitcoiner should know what this is. This is a rye stone from the island of Yap, which was used as money there. These big rocks here, circular rocks, they aren't very divisible at all. You couldn't just hack a chunk out of that rock and sell bits and pieces of it. Didn't work. And this is uniformity. The dollar may seem uniform, but it really isn't. It has all sorts of properties that makes it not very uniform. It has a serial number and a plate number and all sorts of things that make it one dollar bill different than the other. And people can collect certain numbers and certain this and that. Scarce supply. Here we can see this is from Venezuela, I believe, where nobody gives a shit about the state-issued currency because it's useless. It loses its value so fast that there's no it's cheaper to use these bills as toilet paper than it is to use toilet paper as money. So money doesn't function if it doesn't have a scarce supply. Here we can see acceptability. And how often have you seen a sign like this? When was the last time you saw one? Bitcoin accepted here is, though the process may seem slow, adoption is growing all over the world. It's way, way easier to use Bitcoin now than 2 years ago. Yeah, so money that wasn't durable, like seashells and salt and tobacco and whatever was used as money back in the day, slowly but surely got replaced by precious metals, especially gold. Money that wasn't portable, like gold, was then replaced by receipts for gold stored at the vault. So this is the start of fractional reserve banking. There's a guy who owns a vault that allows depositors to put their precious metals and their gold into that vault, and he gives them a receipt, and they can trade the receipts with one another instead. That's how the monetary bill was born. The banker quickly realized, though, that he could print more receipts than he actually had gold in its vaults. And the mind-blowing fact about that is that that's still how monetary bills work today. So there's nothing, fiat money is not backed by gold. It's not backed by anything. It's all credit. And the central bank is an institution that was invented to prevent banks from failing when there was a bank run. So it's basically bailing out criminals. That's what the central bank is for. It's a very, very evil institution. Yes, and this was also because of gold's indivisibility. It was not very easy to split up the gold bar and use it. Coins held by collectors, like rare silver dollars, aren't very uniform and thus rarely used as media of exchange. You don't use collectibles in everyday trade. So we get into a problem because all legacy forms of money have failed in one of these aspects. The biggest problem today with fiat money is, of course, the scarcity aspect. So since fiat money isn't scarce, people use everything else to store their wealth, or housing or real estate is used as a medium of exchange over time. You here in Sydney all know that because the property prices are absolutely bonkers here. So what happens is that real estate solves not the housing problem, but the store of value problem for the billionaire. So the billionaire buys up all the property, and therefore people can't afford housing. So it's just funneling wealth from the lower classes to the elites because the money doesn't function. And you get these ghost towns of luxury houses that no one lives in. Because people, and it's all because the money doesn't work. So your house, your real estate does not go up in value because its price denominated in Aussie dollars goes up. The house is the house. It actually deteriorates over time and gets worth a little less. And if you use Bitcoin as your denominator, you can clearly see that this is going on. Now here's the first law, what I like to call clown world of dynamics. For everything true from a fiat perspective, the inverse is true from a Bitcoin perspective. In other words, every use case for Bitcoin, except the strict monetary use case, is an abuse case. There are two scarce resources in Bitcoin, and one is the Satoshis themselves, and the other is block space. But they're scarce in very different ways. The Satoshis are forever scarce. Block space is scarce over time. And with every single block, the startup cost of firing up a new node becomes a little more expensive because there's more information in the blockchain. And if all 8 billion people on Earth adopt Bitcoin and block space is distributed equally, we all get around 2 transactions per lifetime on-chain. Luckily, this is not the case. Bitcoin is not for everyone, it's for anyone. There's a distinction there. And also, when you have Bitcoin, you don't need to use as many monetary transactions, but that's another rabbit hole in itself. So, since February 2023, we've seen this phenomena of shitcoins on Bitcoin. So this is a block in which the miner, funnily enough, painted a picture of a shitcoiner here, what looks like a shitcoiner. But, and this is mempool.space. Now this is crucial. Mempool.space is not a part of the Bitcoin network. It's a third-party app that chooses to depict this block in this way. If you use another Bitcoin Explorer, this one for instance, the same block looks like this. And you may interpret that as a picture of a shitcoiner, but it really isn't. Because the picture was never there in the first place. It's only these arbitrary data salesmen that pretend that this is something that happened on Bitcoin. It never happened on Bitcoin, it only happened on their third-party websites and how they chose to interpret the data. Because it's, first of all, there's no such thing as intellectual property. You cannot own a picture because you can right-click it and copy-paste it, like all of these things. So this is a mirage of a mirage of a mirage. It's fake all the way down. And people pretend it's true, and they manage to fool gullible, retards into buying these things. Because a centimeter is still a centimeter regardless of what you choose to measure with it. And the same is true for a Satoshi. It's just a unit of measurement. You can't even own a Satoshi. The Satoshis are just a number attached to unspent transaction outputs, or UTXOs. Everything in Bitcoin is only secure because of probabilities. So the reason you say that you own a Bitcoin is because you control the private keys. But that is only an estimation. You think that no one else controls that key. But that doesn't mean you own it. It just means that you can use it as if you owned it because you believe that nobody else has access to the same information. But it's still just information and probabilities. So, yeah, there's a lot in this talk, and I don't know how much time I have here, but microtransactions are, in my mind, a very fiat-y thing. This is a toilet in Britain, I believe. So when you go and buy a train ticket, if you need to go to the bathroom, you have to pay 50p to pee. And I think on a Bitcoin standard, it's very much more likely that we'll buy a lifetime subscription to train rides everywhere once, and then number just goes up for the train station owners everywhere, and we don't need to make microtransactions at all. Subscription models will be much more popular, fewer transactions. So every other use case than the monetary use case bloats the UTXO set. And what I mean by that is that for all of these arbitrary data transactions that are unspendable because they're only 1 sat each, it makes every block larger, and therefore it makes it costlier for you to fire up a new node. So right now it's costlier. It takes more time to sync the blockchain after February 2023 than every year before that. So there's much more data, bullshit data stored, just because some idiots managed to fool some retards. And who is the actual miner in a mining pool? Okay, this is maybe I don't have time for this. How am I on time? This thing is scary here. It says minus 15 seconds. How much time do I have, Dylan? Yeah, but it says I have no time. Can you give me more time? A few minutes, okay. So, if you don't know what I'll try to be quick. I talk too much, don't I? So if you if you don't know what block you're mining on, you cannot really call yourself a Bitcoin miner. You're just a hashing salesman. You sell your computing power to a pool. So theoretical perfect money can be traded for anything, anywhere, at any point in time. It functions as a universal medium machine over time and space. It's a good sui generis. As such, it can provide its owners with any other good or service they may ever need, including monkey pictures. The closer Bitcoin is to being perfect, the better. So money needs to provide its owner with the best possible protection against uncertainty. Otherwise, people won't use it as such. And they'll go back to using apartments in Coogee Beach to store their value instead of Bitcoin. And we wouldn't want that, would we? Where are we here? Come on, thing. Oh, yeah. I guess this is the end of my talk. Yeah, I hope that made some form of sense. I have 4 books on sale here and a couple of T-shirts. So if you want one of those, I'll be signing them later. And you can also join my little Telegram group there, where I'm about to launch my new academy here in a couple of weeks, which is a membership thing that you can all join for free here if you get something else off of me. So thank you very much, and yeah.